the reality is there used to be a gold standard, right? Theoretically, there'd be enough gold stored in some place, in our case, Fort Knox, that would support the economy or the currency that we had issued. This hasn't been the case in forever. There's not enough gold in Fort Knox or many other forts to support the economic activity or the amount of currency we have floating out there. And to me, what really how the conversation got started was, of course, with Chuck Woolery. Yes,
yes.
What did he host? You told me
Love Connection.
The Love Connection host is now hawking gold coins on TV, various places. Which, as the economy slows and markets slow, the gold people always come out to sell their wares. This time it's our friend Chuck Woolery. Joe Namath is selling Medicare supplements or something, and Chuck Woolery is selling gold coins. And it's a fear sell. The pitch is this. The world is going to end. Everything's falling apart. The dollar won't be worth anything. It's going to be fighting in the streets. But if you have these gold coins, Ryan,
doubloons,
then everything will be wonderful for you. Because apparently through the chaos, there'll be some orderly ability for you to negotiate and acquire things with your gold coins, because everybody's just going to part the streets for you,
of course,
to allow you to do that during this chaotic period.
Also, I'm learning that I'm like super wrong about Chuck Woolery.
Yeah?
Well, okay. So Chuck Woolery was a host of Wheel of Fortune for like a weird brief amount of time. My boy Sajak, you know?
Yeah.
But it was Scrabble.
Scrabble.
And Categories as well as the Love Connection.
Yeah.
His career goes way back. And I not in one time in Chuck Woolery's life did it come down to you needed gold doubloons.
Well, it is now. That is where his career has gone, is I'm going to be selling or pimping these coins here
milestone
for folks that are concerned that the world will be ending and they will be buying bread with their gold coins.
Yes, the world is ending. Here is your shiny medal. Good luck.
Yeah, have fun with that.
But I don't think the world is ending, because we have, I don't know if you know this, Scott, a financial whiz kid. When it a wonder kid, a wonder kid, if you will, when it comes to the numbers.
Who's that?
And that is Tammy with those numbers.
Oh, wow, it's me. I didn't know that.
Apparently he's as surprised as anybody.
Wow. I was waiting for another song, but now this one came out.
Nope, well, it's all on you now.
Cool. Well, the good news is the economy is not collapsing, as Mr.
Woolery.
What's his name?
Mr.
Woolery. Yeah, no. So, yeah, I feel bad for him because of his school.
Well, he should go back to selling vowels.
Maybe that'll do.
There's more money in vowels than there are in gold coins.
The vowel market, way through the roof.
You get an E, you could get all kinds of money for an E right now.
Seems like it, because I don't see any signs. Jobs seems to be at all-time high. We're not seeing any jobless claims being pressed.
Right.
So I feel, again, bad for the dude right there.
Yeah.
He'll be all right.
Ironically, all the money in letters are in the letter S and P.
Yes.
Oh.
There's your dad joke for the day.
Yeah, I'm going to write this down.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
So jobs good.
Jobs are very good. Now, housing not being crushed as we thought it would. Yes, it is slowing down, but slowing down slowly. So it's not slowing down quickly.
It's a slower slowing.
Very much.
Right.
It's not a slippery slope. It's more like a kind of a slope, but not much.
Oh boy.
Just a light decline.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. Just we have it's just increases every month. It increases by 1 day. So in a time of a crash or something similar, you'd see like a week more.
You're talking about inventory. Houses available on the market are increasing by a day a month.
Yes.
Right.
A day a month, a day every couple of weeks. So,
would we call that a soft landing?
Yeah. I mean, there's another interesting term, which is the growth recession.
Ooh. I feel you're just jamming words together now.
Well, that's what I thought when I first.
Can he buy a vowel, right?
Hope you got the money for it.
I'd like to solve for this puzzle. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. So growth recession, basically, it's when you have very small growth, that is almost no growth, but no contraction. So the economy is not crashing. It's not contracting.
The growth is slowing.
Very slow growth.
Yeah.
And we saw that in the GDP numbers that came out.
Yeah.
It was negative 0.6.
Yeah.
So is that like recession? Technically, yes.
Yeah.
But it's again, see the area of
It's a tepid at best recession. We come on recession. You can do better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, recession is like those 2 quarters of decline, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's like 0.01% of a decline, that still counts it as a recession.
This is a sissy recession.
Yeah.
This recession has no backbone.
It's not a hurricane. It's like a tropical depression.
Yeah. It's just a little bit of
little smidge there.
I'm not scared of this depression.
No. It says recession.
Recession. I'm sorry. I said the D word. That I would be scared of.
Yeah. That never happened, by the way, since the 30s. So
we're good.
We're good there.
Yeah.
We're good. So on the yield front, we still see the treasury yields going up and even up and higher. We thought we saw the peak of them back in June, but we're wrong because they're even higher now. So that's interesting. And just to put like a hat on this,
a market cap, if you want
to put a market cap on this.
Yes, exactly. So just to make it clear, so say you invested $1,000 in a 3-month treasury bill in, when did we say that? May. So after 3 months, you'd get your money back plus the interest.
Sure.
You'll get back $1,001.
Yeah.
That was in May.
Big money.
That's worth your time.
Yeah. Right. 3 months. Now, if you do the same thing and you buy a 3-month bill, you get $2.5 in 3 months. So it doubled the interest rate.
The yield.
Yeah. So that is very interesting. It just keeps going up. It means people or investors might divert their investment from the stock market into the bond market for now.
Yeah.
Which is normal. I mean, that's the two kind of
well, markets are cyclical. Anybody who thinks otherwise is, that's just silly to not. And the point you're making is that when we look at the stock market, a lot of the stock market's growth, if not all of it, is based on the flows into those stocks, right? More and more people are bidding on stocks, therefore the prices are going up. If somebody says again, I could have got 1% on my treasury, whatever the term would be, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is, but my potential return is 6 or 7 or 8% in the stock market historically. I'm going to probably do the stock market thing, right? Even though it's not a sure thing. But if your guaranteed return in a treasury is 3% or 4%, which is kind of where we're heading.
Yeah, almost.
You might not say that that's worth it. You might say, yeah, but my upside's 6 or 7%. I'm already guaranteed 4. I think we're going to do that and call it a day. So how people enter risk markets, or if they enter risk markets, is largely dependent, not always, but somewhat dependent on the rates of return they can get in the risk-free market, which is defined, at least in this explanation, as the treasury.
Yeah, pretty much. And the more funds that will flow into this market, the higher the price and the lower the yield.
Yeah, it's a bizarre relationship.
So within short time, when everybody, or many, let's say, will start flooding the treasury yield market, the price will go up and the yield, you won't see this yield again.
But that's how a market's supposed to work.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. And we can get into this political debate about
it's someone's fault.
Yeah, so we gotta blame. First of all, let's just find the scapegoat. All right, who did this? Right, and pick your politician du jour. But I mean, we could argue, and I think most people would, maybe even the Fed themselves in the quiet, dark room, to say maybe we put a little too much money into this market. Maybe we over liquefied the market. Maybe COVID frightened us and we acted a little bit beyond what we should have. That's great, because this is an imperfect business. Capitalism is a messy animal. I've said it a million times. Capitalism is not perfect. It's the best system we've ever come up with, and it's the one I'm going to keep using. But it is not perfect. And if you assume it's perfect, if you assume it should work always perfectly, then you're playing the wrong game, man. That's a different economic system. If you think it should work perfectly all the time, we've yet to come up with that system. But capitalism is a great system. I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. I love the game. I love to be engaged. I love that it rewards doers. I love that it rewards a society that does and grows and works together. But at the end of the day, we probably put a little too much cash in, and we're trying to fix that right now.
All right. And we'll be right back with more. It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. I'm Ryan from the Monsters in the Morning, and I'm here with financial advisors Tammy and Scott Brown of Edgewater Family Wealth. The website's edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and they have all the information to get a hold of them that way by using the Contact Us. Plus, they have the blog section where they have all kinds of stuff, including past shows and financial talk with the wonderkind, Tammy himself, who is right in the middle of doing those numbers.
Oh yeah, that again. That sounds familiar.
I hope you play this at home, Tammy, and you dance
he
around.
Listens to it in his car now.
I imagine not.
It's just on repeat every morning. So we were talking about yield, and then from there we are looking at the interest rate, and then of course the mortgage rate.
Yeah,
the 30-year mortgage rate, the average of it is about 5.5. Which is reflected in the housing. But how is the housing looking?
Well, I mean, housing is down on average across the country, but there are pockets of, and when I say down minimally, it's down minimally in most places. But the growth year over year into, like, in some cases over 20%, if you look back to this time last year, price wise, the growth, the top states are Florida, Arizona, North Carolina, Montana, and Tennessee. And some of these things make sense. Florida's a low tax state, so people are gravitating there. But the demise of this economy has been greatly exaggerated, in my opinion. Things are still moving. I mean, I went on a little ride with some buddies last week. We went out and rode into Pennsylvania, New York on our little motorcycles and did our man thing.
Upstate New York.
Upstate Pennsylvania, Mid-Atlantic, it's called. This is a heartland, a lot of good people out there. It's somewhat rural and beautiful. Anyway, but people are out. I mean, we were in cafes, we stopped in restaurants, everywhere I went, people were out, they were spending, they were doing, nobody was singing gloom and doom. Nobody was, there was no soup lines that I could find, anything like that. So I think that, yes, while certainly some people are still struggling, employment seems to be somewhat robust. I think I saw that of all jobs out there, still 6 to 7% of them remain unfilled, which means there's opportunity out there.
Yeah.
The mortgage rates have squashed housing a tiny bit. Squash is probably an exaggeration. Have brought them down, brought the growth down a little bit. It's back to your growth recession that you mentioned before. But the reality is, I think things are going okay. I still expect to see inflation around 4 or 5% by year's end, which would be an improvement. Certainly not where we were or where we want to be. I think the Fed would say 2.5 is their target. And we probably won't be there by year's end for many reasons. Scapegoats aside, we're still struggling a little bit with supply chain issues. So I think, but I see wages are up. Wages have actually outpaced inflation finally for the first time year over year. So that's a positive thing. People have more discretionary income, which is interesting considering we're technically in a recession, but we have wage growth sufficient enough, even at the lower end of the scale, to provide on average about 2% more discretionary income than people had last year.
Would it be correct to say like a downturn in the market is a feature, not a bug? You know what I mean? Like
100%.
100%.
Yeah. It is the feature. The feature that you want to take advantage of.
Because the hard part for me, I'm looking at it and I'm still putting in my 401k and I'm still putting money through like my various like investing apps. And I'm like, it's definitely gonna go back up. Like that's the thing. You just got to power through, Ryan. Just wait this out. It'll go back up. This is a feature, not a bug.
Well, what's the alternative?
That the whole market collapses, American society is doomed, and we're back to selling to balloons.
And that takes care of itself, right? Now we're all living with Chuck Woolery. Yeah. So I mean, again, people say, well, what if it's different, or I don't know if it's coming back, or okay, maybe, but the alternative is the end of the world. Basically, our economy crashes, the country crashes. We're no longer the currency of the world. The rest of the world, if we catch a cold, the rest of the world gets the flu, basically. And so if we have that happen, the whole world's going to fall to pieces because we're the economic carburetor. We used to say the engine. We're probably still the carburetor, although we don't have carburetors anymore. But say we had carburetors, we would be the economic carburetor for the engine that is the world economics. So you say, well, it might not come back up. And I'm like, okay, well, then you better build your bunker and get your 7 month supply of, dehydrated foods which I had some dehydrated foods on the road this past week.
Oh, did you?
I don't recommend it.
Yeah. The menu in the apocalypse is horrible.
It's not good. I wouldn't go to the apocalyptic restaurant.
I wonder what the meals there will be.
Yeah,
What type
I'm
of meals
telling you what
put in
they are.
there.
They're dehydrated, gross food.
So what I'm hearing from you guys, from my very limited thing, is like the induced coma that was put in worked out. Mortgage rates kind of leveled off from going up to where they way past where they should. Wages good, jobs good, and the I did that stickers are not have the same effect that they used to.
The I did that sticker market is declining because
Yeah.
gas prices are down. Those folks that like to put
They're going to have
stickers
to
up.
add one that says, "Remember when?"
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah,
to bring
you're welcome or whatever. But I mean, again, we like to assign, and it wouldn't matter.
Where does the blame? Okay, so people like to blame, right? Where
Yeah.
does the blame really go? If it's not a president, if it's not the Congress, is it the head of the Fed? Is it the guy who runs the biggest bank in the world? Is there a blame, or this is you just ride the wave and this is what happens?
Well, we're a collective, right? There's 350. We use the U.S. as an example. There's 350 million people in this country. You know, they say we get the leaders we deserve. So think about that for a second. But you know, no one person. You know, I like to say economies happen to presidents, not because of them. And I don't care who the president is. I mean, first of all, economic policy. You know, when you think about when a president takes office, right? Those aren't his policies or her policies.
Right.
Should we have a female president at some point? The first year you're working on the past president's budget, right? That you had nothing to do with that budget. So let's say in Biden's case, he was elected in 20, takes office in early 21, right? Am I just saying that right?
Yeah.
So that first year he had no impact. Now, you could argue, and I think rightfully so, that tone matters from a president, what they're saying, if they seem to be, you know, a little bit down in the mouth or not, you know, advocating for what we would consider in this country robust economic policy or low tax, whatever floats your boat. You know, if you're saying you're hearing the opposite, that might weigh on the psyche of a country. So I will give that some merit. But at the end of the day, Congress plays a role but usually it's like turning an aircraft carrier. You don't do it in a bathtub, right? It takes a long time, like 20 miles to turn an aircraft carrier around in the ocean, right? You can blame people if it makes you feel good. I don't understand what the point is. If you're blaming, like, if your economic situation in this country isn't what you think it should be, this land of opportunity, this place where you have the opportunity to pull up your bootstraps, as they like to say, or work a second job or get a different education or whatever. If you like to point fingers at other people, whether it's a politician or the dog that ate your homework or your parents or the list goes, I mean, I hear all kinds of things from people. Look, at the end of the day, you just got to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing? What can I do better? Where can I save? How can I improve my education? Could I drive an Uber? Whatever it is. But putting stickers on gas pumps ain't going to fix your problem.
Yeah, and if you got money for stickers, you're probably doing okay.
You should not be spending money on stickers.
Maybe he's actually selling them.
Yeah. Oh, there's a conspiracy right there.
I mean,
love it.
They seem to be everywhere. But yeah, if I'm low on disposable income, I'm not going on Etsy to go buy stickers.
Get me some stickers, and I'll get some lottery tickets while I'm out.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
That'll get you places.
Yeah.
So what do we have left for numbers, Tammy?
We just want to point here that the Fed is going to meet in September 21st, and they're probably going to decide on the next hike. Initially, we thought it's going to be 50 basis points, but it's likely it's going to be 75.
Yeah, they're getting aggressive. And I don't have a problem with it. I know the market's getting kicked in the teeth right now. That's not what I was going to say when I started that sentence. But the market...
FCC radio.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So the market is getting kicked in the teeth right now, which is, you'd have to raise your leg really high up to kick somebody in the teeth. But I think it's okay. I think it's part of an organic, natural, you know, I like to say we're burning the underbrush, you know, like when they do a fire in a forest to try to get rid of the palmettos underneath the tree so it doesn't have fuel for a later problem. I think that's what we're going through. And I think it's natural. I think it's organic. I think what Powell's doing makes sense. Maybe he's a little late to the game, but he's there, right? So, you know, and those of us that are market participants, which is everybody pretty much, in whether it's in their 401k or their company pension or in their personal accounts, we're all a little bit involved in that because the effects of the stock market kind of trickle one way or the other. If the wealthy make a lot of money, think like 40 to 50% of the population, maybe 60% of the population has some equity-based investments. And so it affects us. It does affect us. But sometimes you got to take your medicine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you just got to say, all right, we're going to have to burn off some of this cash that shouldn't be in the system to begin with. I don't think there's anybody that would argue we put too much cash into the system during the COVID situation, and prior to the COVID situations, there were numerous other things that happened that caused politicians on both sides to chuck money at different things. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a perfect system.
No.
So
No.
we did what we thought was best, and now we're doing what we think is best.
Yeah,
Never perfect.
You have to accept that. I don't know. What's funny to me, Ryan, is people think there's some nefarious person twiddling their thumbs like Montgomery Burns, wanting to bring the U.S. economy down. And I'm not saying there aren't foreign actors in that category, and maybe some internal people who, for whatever goofy reason, think that's a good idea. But on average, I would think most people, especially at the Fed, are doing the best they can to pump some life into this thing.
Yeah, there might not be people twiddling their thumbs to bring the world down, but there are people racking their brains to help you retire. You know that? And it's you guys.
It's us.
It's you
wow.
guys. Yeah.
Did you know that, Scott?
This is news to me.
Yeah, there's a brain trust at Edgewater Family Wealth that you can access by going to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and they will help you to against the Montgomery Burns. That's right. Go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and we'll be right back with more It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. I'm Ryan from the Monsters in the Morning, and I'm here with financial advisors Tammy and Scott Brown of Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is that website you want to go to, where you can find all episodes of the past shows, all kinds of various stuff, financial talk with Tammy, and you can even email us, edgewaterfamilywealth@raymondjames.com. Now, Scott. Now, my mom is a self-employed person for my entire life. She's owned several different businesses, sold those businesses, owns various properties, is in the process of liquidating all of her various properties, and is kind of downsizing into a smaller house as she gets a little bit older and moving. But she just has money and puts it in the bank. Never has built a retirement, and she had a just plethora of questions because she it's not that she doesn't like trust financial advisors. She looks at it like, look at all this money I've made. I did this on my own.
She did.
I obviously know what I'm doing. And I said to her, well, it's not what it's about. It's about, that money sitting in your bank is not it's getting you some interest, I suppose, but not that much. And I guess her questions mainly include like, well, what do I talk to him about? First of all, like,
that's a fair question. Yeah, I think it's intimidating a little bit, especially if you've never done it. Well, what they're going to say to me? I don't want somebody telling me what to do with my money. I mean, I get all that. There's a hurdle a mental hurdle you have to get over, I think, to have that conversation and relax and trust somebody enough to have a candid conversation. And part of being candid is admitting there are a lot of things you don't know, and that's always hard for people. Like, I have this money, I should know some stuff. But I really don't know some stuff. And so you default to what you know, which is the bank. And there's nothing wrong with banks. I have money in the bank. You need money in the bank. That's a thing. You need to write checks. You need to use ATMs. There's nothing wrong with banks. I think I was telling you earlier, back when I was a kid, somebody put money in a CD in the bank, they got a toaster.
Oh, yeah.
So, toaster. I mean, did she get a toaster?
She got nothing.
No toaster?
She for selling two houses back to back, I believe she got maybe a pen, but it still had the chain on it.
So she couldn't even take it out of the bank because it's connected to the chain.
She ripped it off, Scott. She's very strong for being in her 60s.
Well, those chains are kind of flimsy, to be honest with you. I may have stolen a couple in my day. Yeah, no, I mean, the reality is it is intimidating. I get it, especially, again, if you're a first-time investor. And I think the relationship or building a relationship with an advisor is hard in the beginning. You have to do I like this person? What are they trying to? Are they trying to sell me something? And, let's be fair. Everybody's selling. We're all selling something, whether it's our services or our goods or selling our reputation. So yeah, I guess in a way, everybody's selling you on the idea that I'm the person you should work with, if indeed that's what we think, right? So I get it. It doesn't have to be adversarial. Sometimes that's the weird thing to me is people come in and they're kind of like mistrustful and adversarial. They're like, I'm on to you.
Yeah, you want me to give you my money.
I see what you're up to. I'm like, well, then what are you doing here? And give me back my coffee I just gave you. But yeah, it's that is a weird thing because a lot of times a couple will come in, and I'm going to blame the husband because oftentimes in the couple it's the husband who's always the cynic. Like the wife's like, we need to get some help, and I want to work with somebody, and yada yada yada, and I don't, and basically they're saying their husband's an idiot, so that's part of the problem. At least that's the way the husband's perceiving it.
Yes,
you don't trust me with the money, that kind of thing, which isn't true. But the husband, if anybody's cynical, a lot of times it's the husband, and they got their arms crossed and they're sitting on the couch and their body language is all bad, and it's like, listen, man, I'm not here to take your blood. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I imagine it's like they're there. Like, I'm the provider. I'm the one that's supposed to just know how to do all this kind of stuff, and I don't know, and that makes me frustrated. Yeah. And instead of being calm and competent, I'm going to be angry about this because I'm mad about a thing I don't understand, but I definitely need your help, and I don't want to admit it.
That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, you nailed it. Is they know they need help. Deep down inside, they don't like admitting that they need help because we're men and we don't ask for direction.
We don't go to the doctor. Remember?
We don't go to the doctor. We don't read directions. I'm guilty of all of the above. I don't need no stupid directions. Then I have to call somebody to fix whatever I did. But so yeah, I get that your mom would have some trepidation there, and so I think what I would tell her is, look, it's first of all, you don't just pour your bucket of money onto the table the second you walk in. There's a conversation. There's a getting to know. I don't typically allow people to invest with me the first meeting, even if they want to. Sometimes people will bring a statement in or two, and they're like, "I'm ready. My aunt uses you, or whoever uses you, and they love you, and I'm going to just give you my money." And I'm like, "All right, well, let's do this. Why don't you put your statements away? Why don't we talk? Tell me what you're trying to do. Tell me what your experiences are. Tell me what you like. What have you done that you liked? What have you done that you didn't like? What are we trying to get done here? How do you view the relationship?" And this is, this is the important part is you have to understand what the relationship is and is not. And it is not this guy, in my case, has a crystal ball and he's going to make me a lot of money. The relationship should be, this is a team effort. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about deductibility. We're going to talk about what's tax deferred and what's not. We're going to talk about how to get my required minimum distribution out at 72 or maybe 75 if they change that. We're going to talk about when I need 50 grand out of account or 10 grand or 5 grand or whatever it is, which account do we take it from and why? What are the tax implications of that sale? We're going to talk about if we have a stock that's down, do we harvest that tax loss for 31 days and put it back in something else, right? Or if we have some positions that maybe are old and they're old mutual funds or whatever, how do we get out of them? How do we back out of them with getting crushed in taxes? There's so do I have a trust? Is the trust funded? Are the accounts even in the trust, right? A lot of times client will walk in, they say we have a trust. Now, a trust, for those people that don't know, is kind of a legal document that people go spend thousands of dollars with an attorney for to envelop, if you will, their investments so that when they pass, their kids or whoever their heirs are don't get stuck in probate court, which is a lengthy and arduous process. So a lot of times people walk in and say, well, I say, do you have a trust? And they say, yeah, all our stuff's in, we have a trust. And I'm like, well, none of your stuff's in it. Well, what do you mean? I'm looking at the registrations. They are not registered in your trust. So they go out and they spend $3 or $4 grand with an attorney. They say, thank you very much. Everybody shakes hands. They pay the attorney. They got this great document. It's really pretty and it has a lot of legalese words in it, a lot of Latin. It's fantastic. And then 10 years go by, they die, and the people are like, all right, well, let's break up the trust. And then somebody has to say to them, well, none of this stuff's in the trust and you're still going to probate court. Ugh. Right? So that's just simply an issue of administration. That's re-registering something. But that's an example of things you do when you're an advisor. We manage money, we build portfolios, we buy stocks, we buy bonds, we create dividends, we create income, we manage tax. We do a lot of things, but we don't do one thing. We don't make people rich. That's what your mom already did. Somebody once wrote a book about that, I think. But in that book, one of the things I talk about is the relationship with an advisor, and I use the example of a dog. If your dog misbehaves and you whack them upside the head with a newspaper every time they do anything, eventually what does the dog do when you pick up the newspaper?
Freaks out.
It winces, right? It's like, oh, here I'm going to get whacked again, right? Shouldn't have slept in the chair again. So that's what happens to advisors. Early in my career, I had a client who was a big deal attorney, and he was just had a bad we had a bad vibe from the start. And every time he would leave the country, every summer he would go away, go to wherever, Europe, France, or whatever, and he would freak out and tell me to sell everything. Right. So I realized this guy has no appetite for risk. Right. So eventually I just gave up. I kept the 3 or 4 summers in. I'm like, I'm not even going to try and talk him out of it this time. I'm just going to move the money to cash when he calls, and it's going to be the end of it. Because he had hit me with the newspaper one too many times.
Mm-hmm.
So cut to 3 or 4 years after that, we went through a bull market. The market went crazy. And of course, he fired me. Now, you think, well, why did he fire you? He fired me because I did what he told me to do, right? He told me to keep him conservative. He didn't like the risk. He didn't like it while he was a YO. And normally I would have fought him. And I did fight him for a few years, but he whacked me with the newspaper so many times that I just got tired of it. And I just said, all right, well, we're just going to do what you want, even though I don't think it's the best thing for you. It taught me a valuable lesson about, okay, when somebody hits you with the newspaper the first time, you got to bite them. And if they don't get the message, then you got to send them on their way, right? Because he was his own worst enemy, but guess who he fired?
You.
Me. So, in retrospect, I'm okay with it. But the reality is he taught me, he trained me to react poorly to him and to investments, even though I knew better. I knew it was the wrong move. Thankfully, we don't have clients like that anymore because I've learned to figure them out before they whack me with the newspaper. But to people who have advisors, you teach them how to interact with you. And if your interaction is adversarial, or it's mistrusting, or it's whacking them every time one of your 10 stocks is down. A lot of times I'll have a client come in and they have a portfolio of 10, 12, 15 stocks, and everything's green and it looks wonderful and the returns are good, but the one stock that's down, that's all we're going to talk about for about an hour. So you train your advisor how to react to you, and sometimes you don't train them the right way.
Interesting. So it's an interview process both ways too.
100%.
Interesting. Well, if you want to get on that interview and you want to not hit Scott with a newspaper, go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com. That's the website. And get a hold of them. And my mom, I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for what I am sending your way. We'll be right back with more It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. I'm Ryan from the Monsters, and I'm here with Tammy and Scott Brown with Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is the website. And like I said, you can get past shows there. There's the way to contact them. And you can also send us an email. EdgewaterFamilyWealth@RaymondJames.com is that email. But Scott, you made quite the impact on Friday on the Monsters.
Yeah.
And we have an interesting group of people that listen. We have a lot of across the spectrum.
Yeah.
Let's really call it. And one of the fun things about doing this show is we have a live texting service along with a YouTube chat. So we get instant feedback on whatever we're doing. And I happened to go back and check the texting service on the day that you were in.
Uh-oh.
And it's funny on that show, you don't realize that you're saying a controversial comment to somebody until you say it out loud, and then you get a couple of texts.
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it.
So
I did that.
One person, now we only have their phone numbers. I wish I could give them names. We'll just call him Army Adam. And he says, Scott, gold wouldn't be the currency when society collapsed. Everybody knows it would be ammunition. Should I buy a bunch of ammunition then?
Well, look, again, if you are convinced that the apocalypse is soon upon us and society is going to break down, and then I can't argue with that, right? Buying it. I certainly know that the ammunition manufacturers would appreciate that mentality, as they have gotten a premium. You talk about escalation in price.
Oh, so expensive.
Bullets are super expensive because I got friends that got like 30 guns and 5 days worth of ammunition, and it's like, what? How long? What do you do?
I could shoot a bullet a minute for 4 days.
They think they're going to be like Rambo with the bullets across their chest and standing out in their front yard in their slippers, protecting their homestead. Which I'm not saying that's impossible. I guess that's a thing, even though, as a comedian once famously said, the military's got drones that knock on your door and vaporize you before you know what happened. But good luck with that. But I guess the answer to that question is sure. If you truly believe that the end is nigh, as they say, who says that?
Nigh. Usually a guy, long hair, holding a cardboard sign.
The end is nigh.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you believe that, then sure, have at it. Buy all the ammunition you want. I don't know. I hope you don't get to use it, to be honest, but sure, fire away. Pun intended.
A guy that would like make bullets. He didn't even have a gun. He didn't even like shooting them. He just liked the act of making bullets.
Yeah.
And he would just like, I find it very meditative. He would do that, and he would paint figurines for Warhammer 3000 or whatever
Really?
it's called. Yeah.
He's into comics.
Yep.
That's a very diverse individual.
Yeah. He's one of those eclectic kind of people.
Yeah.
The other one that I got was a little bit more serious, and this is from a man who owns a very famous cat, and if he's listening, he knows who I'm talking about. And this is a text that says, one thing about silver is the price may go up and down, but you still own it. It's in your hand. You can buy and trade with it. If you don't, you can't hold a stock. If the stock goes down or goes broke, you have nothing to show for it. Silver and gold are good if you have enough money.
Silver and gold are good.
So he's focused on the tangibility factor that you can hold silver and you can hold gold, and if you buy stocks, it goes away. You got nothing.
Yeah. So if a company goes bankrupt, you're holding a worthless piece of paper. Yeah. I get that, and I think I mentioned on the show that gold we didn't talk about silver, but when we talked about gold, has industrial use, as silver has a lot of industrial use. So the argument that it's a tangible thing that you can hold in your hand or store under your house, as I once had a client do. Oh yeah. I can't argue with that. I think that's a fair point. My point is there is going to be, in the end of the world scenario, what you're banking on is that there's an orderly exchange for your silver, right? You're saying the world is ending. People are fighting in the streets. We're throwing rocks at each other. We're shooting each other, whatever. Drones are flying. I don't know what's happening, right? But you're going to walk into some place with this silver in your hand to exchange for some other thing, whether that's bread or milk or eggs or whatever it is. And what I'm saying to you is probably not. Probably what's going to happen is the first guy's question comes into play, where the currency is ammunition in that case. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it did happen, it's like rock, paper, scissors. Bullets are going to top silver every time because they're just going to, if there is some kind of orderly ability to do that, to take your silver in the chaos and go get some eggs, the guy with the gun's going to be waiting for you outside your door to take it from you. So I just don't see a scenario where the world is ending, it's chaotic, but you walk in an orderly fashion to exchange your silver for anything of worth without getting yourself shot.
The only scenario I can see where you would be you would have silver and you would have ammunition is if suddenly the rise of the werewolves happen.
We're going there now.
And the only way, of course, we all know is to shoot a werewolf with a silver bullet through the heart, and then that's scenario, you are king of the world.
So in that specific apocalyptic scenario where werewolves have taken over, which, okay, now I see where you're going. I stand corrected.
Because, werewolves exist. We know that. We all know that.
Oh, 100%.
Well, we don't not know that.
Exactly. You can't prove they don't exist.
Yeah. Show me. You know, Bigfoot, there's a lot of evidence. This show's about tangibility, though. It's not about werewolves. No, it just blows my mind. But I do get it. Like when I buy a stock, I buy it on an app.
Yeah.
I don't even get that piece of paper.
Right.
What do I actually have?
Yeah. It's an electronic record. This always been the hilarity of crypto to me is people are like, well, it's electronic. I'm like, well, what is everything else? You're just looking at digits on a bank statement. You're looking at digits on a brokerage statement. You're seeing a line item that says you own Disney, DIS, or you own Microsoft, MSFT, right? And you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, we've all agreed it means something, right? We've come to a collective agreement that this is how our system works. This is how we fund our capitalism. This is how we invest in the growth of our country. This is how we increase productivity. This is how we buy aircraft carriers. This is how we buy jets. This is how we build streets. This is how we put lights out so that people can drive at night. This is how we produce energy. We've made this agreement as a collective that this is how we're going to do this. So is it tangible? No, but really, what is tangible? Other than the physical gold or the physical commodity, a bucket of wheat or a bushel of apples or a handful of silver and gold, other than those things, we live in a modern society where we've made these collective agreements. And if those collective agreements fall apart, then maybe, just maybe, in the werewolf apocalypse, your silver will come in handy.
we're gonna. I don't really foresee the werewolf apocalypse, but
no.
you know, it's it could be. I'm just frustrated myself. I mean, like as a guy who got into trading a couple years ago, you know, like I thought I had turned on the infinite money machine.
Sure.
And I was like, look at me, look at the genius I am. And now I look at the all time, because that's the feature that they give you, which I wish they didn't right now. It's just down, down, down. Just and I know I'm supposed to wait, and I'm supposed to find solace in the fact that it's going to come back. But in this is the bear market, right? This is that what you call it?
Yeah, so it's legitimately a bear market. Yeah. We were down enough that is actually true, technically true.
So what is the proper play? As like I'm still putting money in the 401k. I'm not stopping doing that. But it's just like a standard kind of retail investor. What can I do to protect myself?
Be patient. I know, again, not the sexy answer, but to use your own terminology, it's a feature. It's not a bug. Down is not a bug. It's not, down now, broken. Not broken.
No.
Feature, right? So you bought this market machine, and part of the instruction says will go down sometimes before it goes up. So again, it gets back to this conversation. If we push the werewolf apocalypse aside and we say that's not going to happen, and if it does, there's nothing we can. It's like saying, well, what am I going to do if it rains? I got to do something about it's going to rain or it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just get an umbrella. It's like worrying about a meteor falling on your head. It's a pointless endeavor. So what I would say to you is, we know historically, you know, I was Tammy and I did a meeting a couple of weeks ago. I think we talked about this on the last show, and it reminds me of it. It's still funny to me is that somebody got on me for using historical data.
I've been thinking about that ever since you said that.
I'm like, what did he think I was going to use other than his? Anyway, I digress. It's still funny to me.
You didn't give me the secret data.
And it stopped me in my tracks. I was like, wait, should I not be using this? What should I? So anyway, we all know if we're using historical data, sorry, guy out there that doesn't like historical data. If we use historical data, we know that the market, I tell the same stupid story to everybody. When I started in the business in 1987, my dad in his infinite wisdom said to me, what are you doing? Like he said to me many times. But this time he was talking about getting into the stock brokerage business, right? And he said, the market's at 2,000. It's not going to go any higher. Well, that's not correct. The market's at 32,000 now. Now, did it go up to 10,000 and then back to 6,000? It sure did. Well, what if somebody had said, well, it's at 6,000. It's never going back to 10. And then it went back up to 10, and then went to 12, and then it went to 15. And then recently it dropped back down to 28,000 or 27,000 from 33,000. And somebody would say, it's not going back up. Again, short of the apocalypse, the economy grows by expanding and contracting. It expands. If we look at market history, we know about 2 out of every 3 years, I'm using the math loosely, the market is up. So that means 1 out of every 3 years, the market is down. There are very few 10-year periods where the market is down and almost no 20-year periods are down. Long term, is the market going to 50,000 or 60,000? For sure. For sure it is. If it does, is it going to go down in between there? Is it going to go to 35 and then back to 28? Probably. But in the end, if you believe that it's going to 50,000, you stay the course, you're disciplined, and you don't let your emotions call the shots.
And also having a strong financial advisor at your side would probably be very helpful. Unfortunately, if you're a werewolf, we don't take your business. No. I apologize for that, but we had to know.
We got to draw the line somewhere.
But EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is the website. You can contact Scott and Tammy there. Check out all the past shows and everything else that goes on. And if you need to send that email, it's EdgewaterFamilyWealth@RaymondJames.com. I am Ryan with Scott and Tammy. Gentlemen,
have yourself a great day.
Happy Sunday afternoon.
Happy Sunday. And we'll be back next week with more It's Only Money on Real Radio 104.1.